Well, the first thing to say is that the ruling was not for a stay of execution of the enforcement of the judgment, but for extension of time to Nigeria to challenge the arbitral award. The one of stay of execution is another proceedings entirely. That one is at the English Court of Appeal now. The court refused our challenge. We were challenging the P&ID brought an application to enforce the award, and we countered by opposing the application. The High Court refused our challenge, and then we appealed to the English Court of Appeal. That's another proceeding, but that same court now said these current proceedings should be held and determined by another judge. In this one, what we are saying is that in an arbitral proceeding, we had 28 days to appeal the decision. Under the English rules, I think 28 days to file to challenge the arbitral award. It's now 5 years after that. We brought this application for extension of time to be able to do so out of the court should extend time for us to be able to bring our challenge of the arbitral award. That is what the court has just had and granted. It would not normally be granted because arbitration, they don't like time wasting in it. It's a public policy that once there is an arbitral award should be implemented, enforced and all that. It's just to cut away time wasting. But this court now held that we have made out, we are challenging, the exception to those rules includes where you are challenging on the basis of fraud. Nigeria is claiming that the entire process is tainted by fraud. So, number one, the court found in our favor that the contract itself, the underlying contract, our claim that the underlying contract was procured by bribery, that the main witness of P&ID in the arbitral award perjured, in other words, gave false evidence, and then thirdly, that our lawyer, the lawyer we engaged, Mr. Shashore, colluded with the claimant in the case, to throw our case, our defense, that we have been given, from what Nigeria filed, the court could see that we've made out a very strong case. There are reasons to believe so. It doesn't mean that we have established it, and therefore Nigeria should be granted extension of time to prove what we have alleged. That's what this decision is all about. So, when you ask execution of what does it mean for Nigeria? It's like somebody facing execution before. You had this $10 billion judgment against Nigeria, and all hope was lost because we didn't challenge it when we should have challenged it. And of course, you know that once the judgment has been registered in the court, an order has been given to execute it. Now, this ruling is giving us the opportunity to reopen the entire thing by coming to prove certain things to show that this should not be the case. So it's very good for Nigeria. I think I've answered that partly under your question one. And the answer is certainly. It's like, we've been pronounced dead before practically. And now, like Lazarus, we are being given the opportunity to wake up again and do something about our situation. The court is now, what we will now do in this case, the significance is that all these allegations that we are making in this case, we are now being given the opportunity to introduce this new element, to prove it, to challenge the arbitral award on the basis of these 3 points and some other points that Nigeria has brought up. In other words, that the whole thing was a setup. in effect, the ruling is saying what we are saying before the court is that the agreement itself, the arbitral proceedings, everything about it was a setup between the claimants and some Nigerian officials to defraud the country. So we are being given the opportunity now to come and prove this allegation. And once we succeed in proving it, of course, the arbitral award will be set aside completely. Surely, they can appeal it. Of course, it would also, it may be with leave. They may have to apply for leave to appeal the decision. Don't forget that when we opposed the application for enforcement and it was refused, we are on appeal on it now. And part of the reasons why P&ID opposes our current application is that it will delay their ability to collect the judgment, the award, and it will also delay our appeal against it at the UK Court of Appeal. And the implication of this is that the implication of the current ruling is that all other proceedings will have to await the outcome of this challenge that the court has now given us the right to do. In other words, our appeal at the Court of Appeal, or the UK Court of Appeal now, would automatically wait until it is determined one way or the other whether what we are now alleging in terms of fraud, whether we're able to prove it or not, whether it's upheld at the end of the day. So all other proceedings will have to wait. But as to whether P&ID can appeal the current ruling, yes, it can subject to certain rules of the UK court. When you say punish, how do you punish them? It's by charging them to court. You can't execute them simply because you have reasons to believe, one or two things. It should be borne in mind that one of the key witnesses, I don't want to go into details of that, actually has an agreement with Nigeria to give evidence, favorable, to give evidence, to say the truth. Let me say give evidence, to say the truth about what he really knows about the case, in exchange for an agreement that he will not be prosecuted. So Nigeria is bound to honor that agreement with that particular person. That's number one. Number two, that I want to say is that if you charge the people to court in Nigeria in our desire to punish them, it is unlikely to, given the speed with which we do cases in Nigeria compared to the speed in the UK. If our chances of winning in the UK depends on convicting the alleged persons, government officials, and sentencing them in Nigeria, then we are certainly going to lose, because our own speed cannot match the UK speed. For sure, it's going to be that by the time they would have concluded in the UK, we will still be filing one useless application or the other here. The case will be held up and so on. But I don't think that given, if you read the judgment properly, all we need to prove to the satisfaction of the courts in this case, when in our challenge, is to establish all the things we have alleged. Of course, the court will not convict anybody. All the court will be looking at is the quality of evidence that we have brought to establish what we have alleged. Once we are able to prove those things, and this court in this ruling has already said that we've made out what in law we call prima facie case. In other words, a strong case. The court has not said we have established we've proven the fact. All the court has said is that from what I can see, if you are able to prove these things that you have alleged, then the award, then you have a very good reason. You stand a good chance of having the arbitral award set aside. So all we need to do is go to that court and support what we have alleged with concrete evidence. The court will not need to wait for people to be convicted in Nigeria before doing its own work. But going beyond that is, yes, I think people need to be punished for the sake of our own sanity, for the sake of our own future. Personally talking as a senior advocate of Nigeria, for instance, and I'm sure any lawyer in Nigeria will feel seriously aggrieved that, about the conduct. If a lawyer is being accused, for instance, of, we hear these things, but a lawyer is being accused of unethical behavior, colluding with his opponent to undo his own client. It's a very serious allegation. And it even goes beyond that. It's like treason, treachery. You sold out your own country. That's the implication. That you sold out your own country. And this is somebody holding a very big title, senior advocate of Nigeria, not of senior advocate of Nigeria. Now, the implication of this is saying that there's prima facie case that he sold out Nigeria, his country, betrayed the country. These are very serious allegations, and we should not, think lightly of it. I do believe, if you read this day today, the lawyer in question, not this day, the cable, there's a publication I just saw there now about the lawyer, of course, learning from America, talking about Lugard, saying Lugard should not be honored in Nigeria. This same lawyer, fake patriotism. Lugard should not be honored in Nigeria because of what he did during the colonial period, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. We should just keep his statue in the library or in the museum and things like that. Lugard is a foreigner. He was a colonialist. He was sent here to serve his own country, and I do believe he served his country well. He wasn't brought here to serve Nigeria. You that was given the opportunity to serve your own country, what have you done? You sold the country. Well, please mind my words, you have to be careful. You are alleged to have sold your country out. Meanwhile, you are going to 1914, 1920 to be condemning others. So I do believe that if you read the judgment and the ruling in full, and you know what goes on in Nigeria, it's typical the way our officials, those who are put in position to serve us, the way they behave. The people we call comprador bourgeoisie, they just sold, take their country, all they care about is their own pocket. They are not bothered about any other thing. There's a particular phrase in that ruling that I'm trying to recall. I'm trying to recall the particular phrase. Maybe I will get it later. So it's like one of the officials sold the country. He didn't bother about the implication of his conduct on the country. All he wanted was his own share of the money. So these are very serious things, but it's not peculiar to this transaction, to this case. It is what Nigerian leaders, what they do. And I'm looking forward to see that, whether they even have the courage, to punish anybody, charge them to court, and make sure that they are brought to justice. It didn't feature in this particular matter, but you hear that a former Chief Justice of Nigeria, I'm not talking of Chief Judge, a former Chief Justice of Nigeria, in this case, went to give evidence against his own country, give evidence, expert evidence against Nigeria in the matter. And for how much? This is somebody that Nigeria still pays because they are entitled to their salary for life. When he was living as Chief Justice of Nigeria, a big amount of money was given to him. He still occupies some official positions in Nigeria. That same person, I don't want us to trivialize it. It's like the president of Nigeria now, General Buhari, going to, or General Obasanjo. Don't let me, since the president is current, it's like General Obasanjo going outside Nigeria to give, in a case that he knows will go to go and give evidence against Nigeria. It happened in this case. So we see the unpatriotism of our people. If we can use this to highlight it, not because it's going to, for people to be patriotic, to understand, to love their own country more than they love themselves. Then maybe we would have something good would have come out of this whole something more enduring, a lesson to history. We would have used this case to teach a permanent and enduring lesson to history, to Nigerians, about the love for their country. The reason why we are in the situation we are now is because of this acts of unpatriotism. Nobody loves the country. We love it by word of mouth. Go and read the cable that I'm talking to you about. This same lawyer is talking about how Lugard suffered us, punished us, abused us, and so on and so forth. Now Lugard is not a Nigerian. You, a Nigerian, see what you have done to your country. Well, again, alleged to have done to your own country. But the ruling is quite clear that from what he has done, it seems he colluded to sell out his own country. It's unfortunate. And this is a significant one, because I hear the president's spokesman has already issued a statement that the ruling has saved us from some armed robbers or something to that effect. I read that again in the cable. I think that we should be careful not to declare victory before the victory actually comes. This is just a stopgap situation. We had lost the opportunity. We had lost the opportunity to be able to challenge the award before now. Now this ruling has given us, has extended the time for us to go and challenge it. All it says is, this thing that you are alleging, come and prove it. All the ruling is saying is, we are sure that the arbitral tribunal was misled because these things were not put before it. Had the arbitral tribunal been aware that our lawyer was acting in collusion with the lawyer for the claimants, he certainly would not have given the judgment, given the award, made an award against us. Had the tribunal been aware that the underlying contract on which this arbitral award was based on was procured by fraud, bribery, and so on and so forth, it would not have given the award. Had the tribunal been aware that the main witness for the claimant P&ID came before them and everything he said amounted to lies, he was just telling lies, in collusion with our own lawyers who didn't challenge him, who didn't cross-examine him. Had the tribunal been aware that that man was telling lies, that he spent so amount of money, not disclosing that in actual fact the 40 million pounds he was talking about spending was money, obtained from General Danjuma. General Danjuma gave them a contract to do something for him. They collected 40 million pounds, did the work, didn't work out. Is that same thing that they are using to say we are ready to use for another project? That's what they did. Had all those things come out before the tribunal, they also said they already had land from Cross River State government for the project. Evidence now, what they are bringing out now is to say that they didn't have any such land. This is a piece of land in the Cross River State government. They applied. They were asked to come and pay. They didn't pay. Meanwhile, they went to the tribunal to say, we already have the land and so on and so forth. How can you have land that you have not paid for? So this ruling is saying if all those things had been put before the tribunal, it's unlikely that the arbitral award would have been granted. So this ruling now is now giving us the opportunity to come and prove those things that we have asserted. All the court has said is that from what I can see, you may be able to prove it. So we should not begin to dance now and say we have won victory. The challenge is to continue to work on it and ensure that the necessary evidence that will convince anybody looking at it that yes, we have a very strong reasons for what we have very strong evidence in support of what we have asserted, to say that we have proven it. It is when we have proven those things that the court will set aside the award. But for now, all the court has said is, okay, we'll give you the opportunity. You've lost it before, but we are extending the time for you to do so. And that's what it's all about. Thank you.